Welcome back. You're listening to Get Real with Bob and Stacey. Real people, real issues, and real estate. You're tuning in to our Leaders and Legends segment. Joining us by phone today, we have very special guest, author and president of Catch Fire Funding, Bill Seagraves. Welcome to the show, Bill.
Well, thank you, Bob. I look forward to it.
So we were checking out your book that's soon to be released beginning of February. It's called Be Your Best Boss, Reinvent Yourself from Employee to Entrepreneur. Tell us why today's corporate warriors, as you call them, are better equipped or prepared than ever to break away from the uncertainty of the corporate world in order to take control of their future and their retirement by starting their own business.
Well, first, hi, Stacey. I have found over the last 11 years, I've been in the business funding industry. I've had the opportunity to consult with thousands and thousands of people that are considering or making the leap out of the corporate employee environment into business ownership. And I had the opportunity to really watch them, study them, coach and consult with them. And what I've really realized is that most people are better prepared to make that shift than they truly believe. The business background that they've developed on somebody else's dime, the financial background that they've been able to save through personal savings or retirement plan savings or wealth in their real estate holdings, those types of things. And the final context is really having been through a successful career transition, or I said that wrong, through a successful career, they're better positioned to look forward to what the end game is for their career. And business ownership for many people is a preferable outcome versus retiring, golf, and travel is what I've found.
Interesting. So what are the realistic options for a first-time entrepreneur? How can they get business funding?
Well, they can certainly apply for loans, apply for equipment financing and those types of things, use other people's monies. But in today's world, I find that self-funding is a better solution, and many people look to their retirement accounts to satisfy those funding needs. They've accumulated, in some situations, tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars over a 15, 20, 25-year career.
Interesting. And how does the way in which someone funds a business have a direct effect on the future success of their venture, do you think?
Well, when people are considering their options, certainly using other people's money, debt comes to mind, but I've found that debt is really a headwind to success. There's the cost of those dollars, the continuing service of that debt, the longer term that it takes to then get profitable once they've started the business, increases the risk, minimizes the overall financial value. Using savings, whether personal savings or through their retirement plan, and effectively investing that money in themselves allows people to start businesses debt-free, reach that profitability position earlier in the life of their business, and over the span of the business, have a greater cash flow and savings for themselves.
Okay. So your book is called Be Your Best Boss. What are some tips that you have for somebody that wants to be? Sometimes I think I'm my worst boss. I need
Aren't
a
we
boss.
all, though?
I need a boss. So I'm very interested in finding out how I could be my best boss because I'm my worst boss.
Well, from a boss perspective, I think each individual is the easiest one for somebody to work for. At least that's my experience.
But that's bad too, don't you think? Sometimes.
Yeah.
I guess it could be bad, but in most situations, I truly believe people are better prepared to be successful in life. And one of my tips is don't do it alone. I think one of the fears that holds people back is the fear of the unknown and fear of being by themselves without the safety net. Who am I going to go to? I don't have a boss.
Yes.
I don't have leadership. But through their career experiences, most people have learned to be somewhat independent and being able to turn that independence around and then develop a support group, either professional advisors, attorneys, accountants, retirement plan specialists to support them. I also coach people. Peer groups are an important context. Mentors can be an important context to being successful in business, getting outside independent eyes. One of the other things that I've learned in my 20 years as an entrepreneur is I learn a lot from watching other people execute their businesses, learning from both their mistakes and their successes, so that I don't make those same mistakes. And I have, I find people that I try to emulate from a business perspective.
Yes, that's interesting. So I would love your take. Not too long ago, I interviewed Barbara Corcoran from Shark Tank, and we were talking about, is it better to bootstrap or is it better to go out and sell a huge chunk in your company so that you can raise a ton of capital and grow fast? What is your take on that?
My personal position is bootstrapping. Okay. I've not had success in a partnership arrangement. Bringing on outside investors has never been a part of my business plan. I enjoy the challenge. I'm an engineer by educational and early career background, so I enjoy the challenge of trying to build a process and a system and hiring key employees that will help me build that business.
That's interesting because surprisingly, Barbara said the same exact thing, even though she's from Shark Tank and she buys big chunks in people's businesses all the time. She said, honestly, the way to go is to bootstrap it and remain in control of your own business.
I would wholeheartedly agree, yes.
Interesting. So based on your background, were you a corporate employee at one time and then you decided to go out and look for options so that you could become an entrepreneur?
I was. My background was in engineering, and I was working for a defense contracting organization. And over the course of a 12-year career, I started at employee 7,001, and quickly rose through the ranks. And I was about employee number 14-ish. I was a project program manager responsible for staff, budgets, proposals, contract execution, that type of thing. I took that experience as a confidence-building opportunity. When I reached that point, really saw that there was no additional immediate headroom within the organization for me to continue to grow. I said, now's the time to jump out. So I did so a little earlier than my typical client. I was 35 at the time when I launched out and started my first career. And then there's been a series of businesses over the last 20 years. This is really the fourth generation business.
Wow.
How old is your average client when they decide to make the leap into being self-employed?
45 to 60 is the kind of the typical client that is both attracted to that second act career as a business owner and comes to the table with significant resources that they can use to launch that business.
And when you say significant resources, is there a general number you suggest people have before they do this?
Well, everybody's number is different. So I don't know if there's an end number. Our typical client is investing on the low end $40,000 or $50,000. Anything below that is kind of a mini business, and there's probably other resources, grants, or other programs that they might be able to launch. But they go our client group goes as high as several $million, where many times it's a real estate context, whether it's a farming operation or a multi-unit apartment complex or a commercial building that they're looking to invest in. That's the far end. But the core part of our client group is defined by Small Business America, and is at $40,000, $50,000 up to $300,000 or $400,000. That's starting whatever. It could be a quick service food business, or it could be a service business, insurance, hospitality, bed and breakfast, whatever. Our clients come from all walks of life and get into all types of businesses.
I see. So they're not taking millions of dollars or gambling their entire retirement savings on the business.
Most are not.
Okay.
Kind of a general rule of thumb that I suggest is maybe a 40% net worth type number. So if people are looking to jump into business and are putting 40% on the line, that's a reasonable diversification with their other less volatile investment options.
It seems like for small business owners, so somebody coming out of corporate America, and let's just say they don't have a massive retirement account, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of funding opportunities. Like, it seems like banks look at it that it's basically a non-collateralized loan because it's a new business.
I do see a hole, although I have a different context on that hole in the market. So business owners can tend to get funding for the micro businesses, the up to $50,000 through governmental programs.
Yep.
Then there's a hole from $50,000 to $150,000, $200,000, or even $250,000 where it does become a challenge. And that hole is created in the context of most of the lending happens through the Small Business Administration 7A loan program. And the economics of those transactions, high cost to participate in the government program from the lender's perspective, low interest rates meaning less cash flow. So the banks are really looking for larger deals to generate enough cash flow to make the deals viable. So a $100,000 loan is a challenge in today's world, but it's more economics than anything else.
That's interesting because it seems like, just for example, I was interviewing an entrepreneur last night. He owns Strega. So it's 5 big restaurants in the Boston area. And I'm always interested, like, where did you get the money to start it? And he's like, literally, I mortgaged everything I had to get my first restaurant. And built the first one, got it profitable, and then invested in a second and then a third. It's interesting.
That's how my father and I started Ross Mortgage. We mortgaged everything we had.
Yes.
Sometimes you have to go all in.
Yeah, you do have to build a reputation, so it is more of a challenge. When you're doing a startup situation and it's the first one. So some people address that by going down the franchise route.
Yes.
So there's an established brand process to rely upon, and lenders are a little bit more open to that context.
That's interesting. And I didn't realize that there's government funding available for small businesses. So if somebody's interested in government funding, are they going to a local bank and the bank would be backed by the government, or are there programs that you go direct to the government?
No, the mainline loan program is going to a bank. You're actually borrowing bank money, but the government is backing those loans.
Gotcha.
As it relates to the micro SBA for micro businesses, my understanding is that is either government money or quasi-governmental money, and it's available through local organizations that are set up through like community development or economic development organizations. And my sense is that is governmental money.
Wow, that's great. So where can people find out more? Let's just say somebody's listening. We know the book is coming out February 9th, correct? Be Your Best Boss?
That's correct.
So you'll be able to find that in bookstores and Amazon. And where can people find out more, especially if they're listening and they're interested in learning about ways to fund a new business?
Sure. If you're interested in the book, go to your local bookstore and ask for it. And if they don't have it, ask them to order it.
Okay.
If you want to learn a little bit more about the book, it has its own website, yourbestboss.com. For funding questions, catchfirefunding.com is the business funding website. It's full of resources and ways to make contact with me through that website.
Okay. And we have maybe 2 minutes left. So do you give people in the book any idea? So I'm in corporate America. I have a very secure job. I've got some money in 401k. Do you offer any advice on deciding whether to really make the switch or just hold out and retire with the paycheck?
Well, the book is certainly full of advice. If there's even the question in the back of your mind, what the next phase of life is going to be and could business ownership be part of it, the book is there to answer that question. I find that many people aren't fulfilled and they have a different vision on what, maybe a better definition of what retirement's going to be. It's not what their parents' retirement typically is. So it's a different American dream, and I believe it's never too late to start.
Yes, in fact, I think it was Colonel Sanders started very late, like in his 70s or something.
Yes.
So.
And Ray Kroc with McDonald's was not a young chicken.
Yes.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, I read Behind the Arches about Ray Kroc. It's an awesome story.
Yep.
So anybody can start at any time. And likewise, though, don't you think there's sometimes people that just aren't cut out for entrepreneurship? Like, it seems like you have to have, like, thick skin. You have to be okay with taking risks to a certain point.
Yes, but I think that's typical of a late season corporate employee too. In many situations, they've developed that skin. They've developed those skills. That's why I believe it. Many people are suited to do so. But if there's a definition of who shouldn't do it, it's people that are paralyzed due to fear or the unknown. I certainly have folks that never pull the trigger, and I call it paralysis through analysis.
Yes.
And it's not for everybody, but I think many people can benefit from that life experience.
Yes, because not for nothing, it is, like you said, it's almost as risky sometimes to leave your future up to corporate America, too. God knows where that job is going to be in 5 years.
That's true.
Exactly.
Okay, so thank you for joining us today, Bill. You can check him out at yourbestboss.com. Make sure to stop by your local bookstore February 9th and ask for the book. And also catchfirefunding.com if you're interested in finding out funding solutions for your small business. Thank you for joining us today, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
Yep. Thank you, Stacey. Thank you, Bob.
That's going to do it for this edition of Get Real with Bob and Stacey. Make sure you tune in again next weekend for more.